Alrighty here. So as it stated in the video, there's quite a few things we're going to talk about today. First, starting off with something called mindfulness. So just as a show of hands in our, reactions area, how many of you have heard of this term mindfulness before? Go ahead and use your little, okay, good. Okay, so few of you, awesome. So for those that haven't heard of mindfulness before, let's go ahead and talk about what that is. So mindfulness is this, I think the best way to describe it, it's this practice, this way of being aware of what's going on in that moment, to be able to have that focus, to be able to better increase your attention. It also helps to relieve your stress and really just kind of being in that moment, recognizing what you're feeling, what you're thinking, what your bodily sensations are in that moment, which can be incredibly important as you are going through, well, really any situation, honestly, because when you're going through something, you want to make sure that you're taking that time to acknowledge what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and have that time to be able to say, okay, this is where I'm at, process that, and best be able to decide what your action is going to be from there. So we're going to have a presentation today from our Counseling and Psychological Services Office, also known as CAPS, who provides multiple services to our students. So just a little bit on what CAPS is. They are located in our Student Wellness Center on campus, which is still going to be open for students to utilize. So, if you aren't feeling well, if you want to sit in a massage chair, if you want to talk with either a personal or educational counselor, that is going to be available to you still in this fall, this upcoming academic year. Now, the other things that CAPS does, they provide multiple workshops on a variety of skill building. So things like study habits, time management. They have specialized groups for students who maybe are of particular, particular identities. They have, excuse me about that. They have different workshops for all types of skill building. And generally in our wellness lounge where they're located, there's multiple services offered there as well, such as a wellness lounge where sometimes there's movie nights or game nights. Again, a lot of different things that you can do. There are a lot of different services that are offered in that center. Now, the great thing about them, especially now that, we have gone remote, they have offered not just in person, but there's also tools available on their website, which I do want to take a moment to show you real quick as our presenter gets ready here. So let me go ahead and for one moment, we're going to go ahead and look and see what the CAPS services are to offer. So if we go to sjsu.edu/counseling, we could see quite a few things here. One, what is CAPS? So what is it? What do they offer? What are their services here? The personal counseling, the different groups and workshops, self-help tips, crisis counseling as well, definitely. So many great tools for you to engage with throughout college to be able to help you. Their location is listed here, as well as some upcoming dates for Zoom appointments and meetings and so forth. So we're going to have a presentation of that in just a moment. We are also going to have an opportunity for you to hear from our peer mentors to provide a student panel. So our current SJSU students talking about their experiences at San Jose State, sharing a little bit about, sorry, I didn't realize my camera wasn't on. Hi, everybody. So talking a little bit about their experiences here, some tips and suggestions and strategies for you to be able to maybe potentially utilize for when you start at San Jose State very, very soon, as well as an open Q&A for you to ask them about, different areas of student life and other ways to get involved on campus, tips and strategies they have for online learning as well. So you'll have that opportunity. But at this time, I would like to pass it over to Counseling and Psychological Services, again, CAPS, for Fillmore. So thank you so much for joining us today. Feel free to share your screen once you're ready.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that now. It's saying I can't start screen sharing while the other participant is sharing.
Sorry about that. Here we go.
That's okay. Let me do this. All right, so hopefully everyone can see that okay. Can everyone see okay? All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. Amanda already did a really great job of explaining a little bit about mindfulness today. So since we don't have a whole lot of time, we're going to go through this as quickly as possible to get you as much good information as possible about mindfulness and how it works, and how you can really integrate it into your day-to-day life to help and support you. So my name is Kat Fillmore. I'm a licensed professional clinical counselor, which is a master's level professional. I'm a full-time counselor faculty at Counseling and Psychological Services, and I work over a 12-month period, so I do work over the summer with students as well. And we really hope you take advantage of our services. I always say to people, you know, college is a really great time to explore who you are, to explore your history and your past, explore where you want to go in your future. And what a lot of people don't realize is once you're an adult, this is really confidential. So even if you had experiences in counseling as a kid where maybe you were frustrated about things that did or didn't have to be shared with parents, there's a lot more confidentiality going to counseling as an adult. And so you really have that chance to explore through whatever it is you want to explore through. And this is going to be basically the one time in your life where counseling is completely and totally cost-free. So I really, really do encourage people to check it out. So a little bit about mindfulness to start, just to go over what Amanda said again. Mindfulness is really, really simple as a concept, but just because it's simple doesn't mean that it's easy. It can actually be very, very difficult to learn how to engage in mindfulness. So I want you to be really kind to yourself today, because the reality is it might actually be quite difficult for you to engage in the way you want to engage, and that's totally normal. Some people even fall asleep the first time they're doing a mindfulness meditation. So please just be kind and gentle with yourself as we enter into this space, okay? So all mindfulness to the present moment, coming from a place of acceptance without age. Why learn mindfulness in the first place? Well, there's a lot of benefits to mindfulness, but also more specifically mindfulness meditations like the ones we're going to try today. So the reality is our nervous system has different parts. So one part, called the sympathetic nervous system, really is what kicks us into high gear and allows us to do really intense active exercise. It's kind of that fight or flight aspect of our nervous system. But we also have another part of our nervous system called the parasympathetic nervous system. That's the rest and digest part of our nervous system. It's the part that really allows us to slow down. It allows our heart rate to slow. It allows our blood pressure to decrease. It allows us to digest our food better. And it can have a lot of benefits in improving our mood, helping us to be more calm and relaxed, improving our sleep. It can thin out that gray matter in our brain that causes a lot of tension and anxiety. And it can thicken up that gray matter in our brain that can help us to remember. So I don't know how many of you have ever been stressed out when studying for an exam before, but being able to engage in mindfulness practices or mindfulness meditation could really help with relieving that tension and anxiety, while increasing your ability to better remember. So I'd like us to start with a really basic mindfulness meditation. So hopefully you remember that Amanda asked you to get some sort of little snack or treat. I would recommend maybe just one fruit snack or one raisin or one peanut or one almond or a small cracker, just something very simple, a piece of gum, a mint, something very simple and small. So hopefully you have some great items there ready to go, or I'll give you just a couple seconds here where you can go grab that item. But don't do anything with it until I start coaching you, okay? The reality is that mindfulness, like I said, can be really difficult to transition into. And so it's really helpful to engage our senses, the five senses, tasting, touching, smelling, right? To really engage our senses when we're doing mindfulness to help center and ground ourselves and really pay attention. So this mindfulness eating exercise is one that if you've had exposure to mindfulness before, you've probably even done it before. Maybe you'll have an opportunity to do it again in the future because it's a great beginner's meditation that can really help ground people and get them to focus, okay? And so it's really about just eating really slowly in a present focused way, right? In full acceptance of whatever that eating experience is. And we'll talk about mindful eating a little bit later, but the truth is, what we know about mindful eating is, yeah, it can be used as a meditation to help us and guide us in understanding mindfulness, but it can actually have larger benefits. So it's been found to help people who experience disordered eating, particularly binge eating, and in slowing down. It can help with weight loss because it allows you to pay closer attention to what's going on with your body. Sometimes we're eating so fast, we don't even notice when we're full, or we're eating in front of the TV, and so our body isn't paying attention as much to those cues. So it can help us to really slow down and be mindful of what's going on with our body. It can help us slow down enough to aid digestion. And it can help us recognize that sometimes we might not feel so good after eating certain foods, right? And so it really allows us to notice what we were eating and the impact it might be having on our body. So hopefully you all have your snack or your treat ready to go. So you can go ahead and pick that up. And what I want you to do is just go ahead and put it in an open palm, okay? So just go ahead and put that treat in your open palm. And whatever it is, I want you to look at it. Just focus in on it completely. All right? Look at its size. Look at its shape. Look at its color. And the reality is, you might have thoughts in your mind like, this is strange, or this feels awkward. I've never done anything like this before. And that's okay. We notice those thoughts for what they are, and we release them without judgment as we come back to this snack or this treat. Looking at all the angles. If it's a fruit snack or a raisin, maybe we see wrinkles or ridges. If it's gum, maybe there's a pattern printed on it. If it's a cracker, maybe we see holes. Really look at it. And then once you've taken it in through your eyes, I want you to go ahead and feel the item. Feel it with your fingers. Is it smooth? Is it rough? Is it cool to the touch? Really feel this item in a way you've never felt a piece of food before. Really taking it in. The size, the shape. Now, not just through your eyes, but through your sense of touch. Pay attention. Turn it over. And then once you've done that for a little bit, I want you to bring it up to your nose. And depending on the snack you have, some of them might smell really strong. Some you might not be able to smell at all. Some might smell tasty, some not so good. Maybe the smell reminds you of something. Maybe you get distracted. That's okay. Notice it for what it is, and then come back to the smell of that snack or that treat. And then once you've really taken in that smell, go ahead and put that snack or that treat in your mouth, but don't chew just yet. So when you have it in your mouth, I want you to turn it over, spin it around, rub your tongue against it. Notice the sensation in your mouth. Does it feel in your mouth like the ridges or the rough parts felt in your hand? Think of the taste that you're already tasting. Is it strong? Is it weak? Does it taste like it smells? Do you notice your mouth salivating? Is it making you realize how hungry you are? Maybe you skipped breakfast, or is it making you realize that you didn't really want a treat right now because you already ate some breakfast and you're feeling pretty full? Really take it in. And when you've done that for a minute, go ahead and slowly start to chew your item. How does the texture change as you chew it? Do you notice the taste changing? Does it become more intense? Does it feel pleasant and taste pleasant in your mouth? Do you notice your mouth salivating? And once again, if your mind starts to wander, that's okay. You just bring it back to that item as you slowly chew. All right. So, just with a couple minutes, I don't know if some of you can turn on your mics, if that's possible. Can anyone give me a little feedback? How did that feel? What was that like? Anyone have any thoughts?
Hi, Kat. My name is Makai, one of the peer mentors.
Hi, Makai.
Hi. Very calming activity and very mindful of like what I was eating.
Yeah. Did you notice your body calming down and your mind calming down?
Yes, it was very relaxing.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people share. Thanks, Makai. Anyone else? Well, I'll just fill you in a little bit about the first time I tried an activity like this. We did it with raisins, and that's my personal favorite to do it with. That's really common, but I don't love raisins, so it's really interesting because when I was having the experience, your feelings are coming into play, right? Of that feeling of like, oh, I don't really like raisins, but here I am eating one. And so that's where it can be really helpful to think about that idea of like, what does it look like to view this activity without judgment? That whatever experiencing you're having is okay. that you can come back to it with a place of acceptance. I'm seeing some things in the chat. Sorry, I missed that earlier. Agree, very relaxing. It was nice. The taste changed differently when I ate it. Very interesting. My popcorn got really mushy. Yeah, I'm sure it did. That's so good. It made me feel like I can fly. My body felt really relaxed. Okay, great. This is good. So if you found that relaxing, hopefully you'll find the next activity that we're going to do relaxing as well. Okay, so if it's helpful for you to take a second to kind of shake out your body, get some wiggles out, that's totally fine before we engage in this next activity. So this next activity is going to be a guided imagery. Okay, and so this is a form of really focused relaxation where you can use your imagination and your senses to carry you off to a completely different place. And so this can really provide a sort of mental escape from wherever it is that you're at or whatever stress that it is that you're going to. So you can use this no matter where you are and no matter what you're doing to calm yourself. And it really can help you visualize desired outcomes. So an example might be visualizing yourself doing really well during a professional interview, a job interview, or visualizing yourself doing really well during a presentation, right? And it can really allow us to take a vacation, a break, like I said, no matter where we are, what we're doing from the day to day. So we're not going to have a real item here like you did with the snack, right? We're going to use our senses still though, because like I said, remember, that's what really helps us to stay focused and ground us. So I'm going to prompt you throughout this guided imagery to really use your senses, but I want you to really imagine fully that you're using those senses in real life, okay? So if you're comfortable, go ahead and close your eyes. I know for some people they might not be comfortable with that. So if you're not, I just ask that you relax your gaze, which means kind of close your eyes slightly and look down so that you're not being distracted by the things so much around you. But if you can close your eyes, that would be ideal. Okay? So go ahead and close your eyes. And as you do, I want you to imagine that you see a door. And you see that this door is here explicitly for you, just for you. Maybe it's ornately carved. Maybe it's a plain door. Maybe it even looks like a door in your home. Maybe it's bright red or deep blue. But it's your door. Take in the color. And then go and reach for the doorknob. Feel how it feels in your hands. And turn the doorknob to open the door into your very own safe space, your happy place, just for you. And again, at times you might get distracted. Think about the worries of your life or later in the day, things you have to get done. That's okay. Without any judgment, just with compassion and grace, come back to that safe, happy place. Take it all in. Whatever it is. Maybe it's a forest and you see bright green trees. Maybe it's a beach and you see blue water. Maybe it's a room in your grandmother's house and you see a quilt. Whatever it is for you, take in all the sights, the colors, the shapes, And then I want you to shift your awareness to the smells. Fresh forest air, ocean salt spray, or perfume or cologne, rain. Wherever it is that you are in your safe place, take in that smell. Really absorb it as you focus in. And then turn your attention to what you hear. Are there birds, waves crashing, wind blowing, leaves fluttering? What do you hear? Really absorb it. And again, if you're distracted or other thoughts come in, that's okay. Notice them, and with kindness and compassion, without judgment, come back to your happy place. Take in all your senses. And as you're here in this happy place, you notice a rock. And you decide to go and pick up the rock. Really visualize it. What does it look like? How does it feel? And as you pick up the rock, you turn it over and you notice there's one word written, a message just for you. What does the rock say? And then you put the rock down back here in your happy place for safekeeping, knowing you can come back to your happy place whenever you want, that it will be safely here waiting for you. And then you notice the door again that you walked through, the door here for you. And when you're ready, go ahead and grab the handle again and come back to your own space here with me. All right. A little feedback, something in the chat, or if you can turn on your microphone. Any thoughts, feelings? How was that for you? Okay, something in the chat here. Let me see. Yeah, felt good. My body felt relaxed, nice and calming, very calming, super calming. Don't be shy. Did anyone find it hard to stay focused? Did anyone get distracted, or did anyone fall asleep? It's okay if you did.
I'll just say that I constantly just like lost focus.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that it's the jobs like your idea of doing it. It's more like I have trouble with doing meditation.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for sharing. So the truth is, this is hard, right? This is very, very hard. And not all kinds of meditation work the same way for all people, okay? So yeah, I'm hearing in the chat, got distracted but was able to focus again, got somewhat distracted but was calm, a couple of those. So the reality is this, I don't know if you noticed, but every single time I said, if you get distracted, it's okay. And without judgment, just refocus your attention. That's just as much a part of mindfulness as the focusing in, right? Remember, this is being present in the current moment with acceptance, okay? Without judgment. Oh, thank you. I got a voice compliment. So without judgment, right? We can just focus in, and it's okay to be distracted, right? And it's okay to have intense emotions well up. Whatever we feel is okay and normal, right? But it's recognizing I can feel that without judgment. I can think that without judgment. And with compassion, I can still come back to the space that I'm in and be present with myself and kind to myself. So that's a huge part of it too. Okay. So it doesn't mean you failed if you fell asleep or almost fell asleep. It doesn't mean you failed if it was very hard to stay focused, right? That's all a part of it. And this takes time. So let's talk about some different ways we can integrate this into just our day-to-day routine, okay? And I'm running out of time, running a little late, so I'll try to be fast. But the first is mindful walking. So what's great about most, these are things you can do in the middle of shelter in place, stuck in your home, right? So if you haven't been getting outside into the fresh air, I would encourage it as long as there's a safe place for you to walk, right? Or even if it's just walking around your apartment building, whatever it might be. But mindful walking is doing what we just did in the guided meditation in real life. You can actually feel what your feet feel like as they're hitting whatever you're walking on. Maybe you're walking on the rubber track by your school. Maybe you're walking on the cement or the sidewalk. Maybe you're walking on some grass. Feel what it feels like as your feet fall. Take in all the sounds. I don't know about you, but I feel like the birds have been really loud this spring and summer. So take in each sound of the birds, right? Take in whatever smell. Look at all the shapes of the leaves, right, on the trees, or the lines and cracks on the cement, whatever it might be. Okay. Then another one. Oh yeah, someone said, we mentioned, I didn't even talk about the rock. So someone mentioned that they had the word under the rock relate to their life. So that's an excellent point. I love doing that exercise of, you know, once again, like I said, the visualization can be really helpful. So it is often great that when you get yourself in that calm space that you can get a message. So feel free to share in the chat too, if you want to share with me the word that you saw under your rock. That's something you're comfortable sharing with, okay? So the next one would be persevere. Ooh, that's a good word. I love it. The next activity would be mindful eating, okay? So with mindful eating, it's not going to necessarily be quite as slow as we did today, but it's very similar, all right? So first, what we want to do is we want to even ask ourselves if we're hungry before eating. This is the reality. If we've had either traumatic experiences or lack of finances that made access to food difficult, we might not be great at noticing when we're hungry, either ignoring the signs that we're hungry and not eating enough, or you know, using food as a source of comfort rather than nourishment, okay? And so what we really want to do is we first check in with ourselves when we go to the fridge, when we go to the pantry, when we decide to go to that vending machine, right, or run to the 7-Eleven, asking myself, am I hungry? Or am I actually bored? Am I actually sad? Am I actually angry? Right? So asking yourself, am I hungry? If you're hungry, go ahead and eat. If you're not hungry, find an activity that's going to be mindful of where you're actually at. If you're sad, maybe you need to text with a loved one, right? Or have a good cry or journal, right? If you're angry, maybe you need to go for a hard run, right? A sprint, whatever it might be that honors your experience. So you can set a timer for 20 minutes to get you to really slow down and eat your meal, right? 20 minutes might seem like not that long, but sometimes it's not until we do an activity like this that we realize how quickly we might be scarfing down our food. So you're really slowing down, and it can help to imagine the journey your food took to get to your plate. So thinking about the area where it was grown. So even something like drinking orange juice, maybe you're picturing the orange trees, maybe you're picturing the people who picked the oranges, maybe you're honoring them, right? Um, you know, maybe mom made that food for you last night and you're eating some leftovers. Maybe you're visualizing her making the food, right? So you really want to avoid distractions. So often we're sitting in front of the TV while we're eating, or scrolling through our Instagram while we're eating. You're just going to focus solely on the food and taking small bites and chewing as you go, okay? Couple other ones, take mindfulness breaks, schedule them, right? So a lot of you are going to be learning a lot about scheduling, right? So that's one of the biggest challenges I see college students coming in with is before they were at school all day and their schedules were pretty regimented, and now they are going to have a lot more free time, but just as much and more work to do, right? So scheduling a mindfulness break can be really helpful to say, okay, after this class, maybe this is a class that can be pretty stressful. After I Zoom in for this class, I do some mindfulness and then I get started on my homework right away. So often we're taking a break by going to Netflix, and suddenly that break turns into like 3 episodes of an hour-long show, right? We don't have a whole lot of research. While Netflix can be great, right? We don't have a whole lot of research that shows that things like watching TV or movies can actually calm us down or help get us focused, right? So we want to even take a small mindfulness break. We can even set a daily reminder to help us with this, because practicing mindfulness helps us calm down overall. So you don't have to wait until you're anxious to do it, okay? Practice gratitude. A lot of times we're just like, thank you, thank you, thank you. We don't really think about what we're saying thank you for. There's a lot of growing research around gratitude and how helpful it can actually be. So the next time you say thank you, I want you to actually pause and think, what are you thankful for? Maybe your uncle made some really, really good barbecue, right? Maybe you pause and say, I'm so grateful that you took the time to really pour your heart into making this food for us today, right? Or maybe you know, your sister helped with some of your laundry, right? You say, wow, I love that even in the midst of stress and that laundry isn't a super fun activity, you took the time to do it for me anyway. Maybe you have a friend who's been there for you during a difficult season. This could be a great time to say, I'm so thankful you've been there for me through the midst of COVID, through the midst of protests, through the midst of everything that's going on. I really appreciate you and I care about you. Show gratitude in really specific ways, okay? And then something called mindful immersion. Almost anything you do can be turned into a mindfulness exercise. So maybe you're folding your laundry, maybe you're cleaning your room. A lot of times, once again, we turn on music or we turn on the TV or we're distracted. You can just focus in on, okay, what do the sheets feel like as I'm putting them on my bed? What does the sweater feel like as I'm folding it, right? What are these items feeling like in my hands as I'm picking them up and cleaning them? And then you can also practice breathing exercises. So this person is doing it in a car, which I wouldn't recommend while you're driving, but it's just evidence of the fact that you can do this anywhere, right? You can do this in your room, in your car, no matter where you're at. You can go ahead and utilize breathing exercises, even if you have a busy schedule, okay? So just some resources. you know, here's some apps if you want to just take a shot of that. For those of you who might have Kaiser insurance, the Calm app is actually free through Kaiser Insurance for a year right now. So that's something I would definitely recommend you take advantage of if you have Kaiser Insurance. Or you can check with your insurance company to see if that's something you have. They can also offer sometimes like a month-long free trial or whatever it might be. But some of these apps have free versions for them as well. So the Stop, Breathe, and Think app has a free version. Someone's saying Calm app is amazing. I highly recommend it. Thanks for that recommendation. It really is. It's really great. So yeah, there's also some books. If you really want to get deep into mindfulness, if this really resonated with you, John Kabat-Zinn is great. He also has some just different clips on YouTube that can be really helpful as well. But those two books are great, those first books listed. And then there's a couple of other books as well listed there too. But yeah, go on YouTube, go on Spotify. There's tons of ways to find mindfulness, or you could even read through some scripts, mindfulness scripts, so that you can prompt yourself as well. So that's all I have for you today. Before we wrap up, we have, actually we're out of time. So I am available if anything comes up. I'm sure Amanda can send questions, but I hope to see some of you in CAPS in the fall regardless. So please, please take care of yourselves. Enjoy your time as you enter into this new season of being San Jose State students, and I'm really excited for you, okay? And it looks like one more thing in the chat. Yep, just a couple people. Yeah, does anyone want to use the chat for questions? Amanda said it was okay.
Yeah, if you have any questions, please go ahead, use the chat, use your mics before we transition over to our next part.
All right, well, that's totally okay. Take care of yourselves. It was so nice meeting you, and maybe sometime we'll meet in person someday, okay? So enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope it's really good for you. All right, take care.
Oops, I was on mute. Thank you so much for that. Really great information, great tips and strategies. I'll say I definitely utilize those, you know, as a student and still today as well. 'Cause really, just a helpful process to help you focus, be a little bit more, you know, in that moment and help definitely with that stress relief. So at this time, again, if you do still have questions, you're still around for just a few moments, you can be able to enter those questions in the chat. But we are going to transition over to our SJSU student panel from our student staff. So I'll let them go ahead and introduce themselves in just a moment so you can hear their stories, hear their tips, and hear their strategies. So kicking it off with our question one, for our panelists, if you can share your name, your major, the name of the college and the resource that you're a liaison to, and a fun fact.
Hi, I can go first. Hi, my name is Tori. I'm a communication studies major. I work with the College of Science, and then I also work with the African American Black Student Success Center on campus. A fun fact about me is that I had a pet duck growing up.
Hi everyone, I could go next. My name is Makai, but y'all could call me Kai. I'm a marketing major and I'll be working with the engineering department this summer. And a fun fact about me is I love going to the beach and I'm trying to learn how to surf this summer. So that's one of my goals.
Hi everyone, I could go next. My name is Jasmine. I'm a psychology major and I'm minoring in public health as well. And I'll be working with the science majors over the summer. And a fun fact about me is I love to dance.
Hi everyone, my name is Vincent. My major is business administration with a concentration in MIS. And I'm working with students from the College of Engineering this summer, and I'm a liaison to the College of Education, the Pride Center, and the Gender Equity and Mosaic Center. And a fun fact about me is that in quarantine, I've been teaching myself how to write with my left hand, even though I'm right-handed.
Hi everyone, my name is Beatrice Paul and I am majoring in hospitality, tourism, and event management. And the college that I'll be assigned for this for our mentoring is the College of Health and Human Sciences. And a fun fact about me is I went to South Korea during spring break last year, sorry.
I'll mute myself. Awesome. So moving on to our question 2 here. What do you remember from your experience first transitioning to SJSU? And what were some things that helped you adjust? You can go in alphabetical order.
I can
Okay.
go first. Oh,
Okay.
sorry. So hi, I'm here in Brea. So my transitioning to SJSU was I joined the summer program, but it wasn't this. It was called the Summer Bridge. That when I joined the Summer Bridge, it helped me a lot because it wasn't like a transition anymore when I entered the fall semester, and it helps me look for resources. And if I didn't mention that I was a first generation too, so when I went to fall semester, I met like so many friends, and yeah, I met so many friends, and I just it wasn't like I wasn't like really nervous when attending my classes, and what else? And yeah, that was it.
So for my transition, I went to Silver Creek High School, and for me, since I was living so close to home, I used to just go to my classes and come home, which I don't recommend at all. Like, so first semester, mostly like my first year, I really didn't get involved. So like, I feel like that was like a really bad transition for me because I wasn't really having like the full college experience. But as soon as like as soon as I started getting more involved or even joining like one club, I started meeting new people. And I feel like I wish if I could go back in time, I wish I had started that earlier, but I didn't know about it at that time. So I feel like that was my biggest transition, trying to like have like a social life as well as academics, because I just went to classes and came home right like because I live like 10 minutes away from campus. So I would recommend that as soon as you do start classes, also try to like have like a different social life, like joining clubs or anything being involved on campus, because I feel like that really helps you get motivated to do your work as well, because I kind of didn't want to do my work because I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. And I think that really helped me out transitioning to college from high school.
I could go next. Again, my name is Kai. Something I do remember from transitioning is being on my own. So I moved from San Francisco to San Jose, so not too far, but it was my first time moving into the dorms and kind of being more independent. Something that like I remember within my transition is I began to like schedule myself more because like I had like a lot of free time since in high school, you know how there's morning classes and you get done in the afternoon. So you kind of have more time during the day. So that gave me like a leeway. So that really put practice into my skills of like organizing and like scheduling out my weeks.
So my experience was a little bit different because I did come in as a transfer student to San Jose State. But something that was like really difficult for me is that, like my previous mentors have mentioned, trying to like connect with like you know, everyone else, the San Jose State community, I definitely felt like I just had like no time to really like transition, you know, start thinking about career stuff. And something that really helped me when I was adjusting was really using like campus resources. As you move on further through school, you have to start to focus on things like internship, resume building, networking. And so I really started using like the Career Center. I really relied on their connections. I really relied on like different organizations to kind of guide me to building a career and really building up my resume so I could be ready to enter the work field when I graduated.
One thing I definitely remember from transitioning to SJSU last year was how scared and nervous I was, even though I attended the SESP summer program. Because like there's a lot of things that come to mind when you're like being like a new college student, because you're like, oh, what are my professors gonna be like? Oh, how our classes are gonna work? And like there was so many like things I was like worried about. And one thing that really helped me adjust was just getting involved and like finding like a group of friends I could get along with. And that could be as simple as like talking to someone in class that you haven't met before, or introducing yourselves like, hey, my name is this, and like I'm a first year, or like this is my major. Just finding some common ground so you can meet some people that you can build a relationship with, and forming study buddies is really useful. So I had like mentors and like from like older students, and that made me feel really connected to campus. And I really believe in co-curricular programming, so you should definitely get involved with student involvement and other different programs on campus, because that's how you can form connections with students, staff, professors, and many other personnels and people.
Yeah, a lot of great information. A lot of you it sounds like getting involved really helped your transition. And I know with us being remote for the majority of fall, there might be some difficulties at. But I will say our student involvement department is really being proactive in creating these spaces, these virtual spaces for you to connect with other students through our 450 student clubs, organizations, fraternities, and sororities, that even though a lot of your classes will be over Zoom, that you're still going to have group projects and presentations and time that you're going to have to get to know other students and build that community of support, as well as being block scheduled into some classes where you're going to have that familiarity with some of the same students being in your same classes. So definitely still opportunities to connect, to be able to engage with other students, which you know, builds those relationships. And relationships is the theme for our next question here. In question 3 of how or did the dynamics of your family change when you went to college?
I can answer that. Um, so I'm a first generation college student. I know that we've touched on that, but for those of you who don't know what that means that I was the first one in my family to attend university. For that reason, there was some growing pains with my family understanding commitment to school. You know, for every 3-unit class you have, I think it's something like you're expected to work like a certain amount of additional hours outside of that classroom, and it ends up being something like a full-time job when you're a student. I come from a really big family. I have 6 younger siblings. I am the oldest. And so my family was really used to me having extra time and resources to support them. And so when I started to go to school, and the further along I got into school, like once I got into my major, I had to cut back on maybe as much time as I spent with them, or maybe as much as I was able to help them, even financially. And so having a conversation with my family and kind of explaining to them like, okay, well, this is what I'm doing. These are my goals. It kind of helped them like understand where I was going and where I was coming from and the support that I needed from them. But it was definitely challenging at first to feel like because you feel like you're not being a good, you know, daughter. You feel like you're not being a good sister by having to put, you know, your education first at times. But, you know, if you have a supportive system, and I was, you know, definitely lucky to have a supportive family that said, we understand that you're trying to make your life better. And so I was able to move forward with my studies and be able to maybe cut back on some of my responsibilities at home.
I could go next. So thinking about, again, like how transitioning not affected, but changed my family dynamic, I definitely think agree with Tori. It was a talk that had to have a conversation I had with my parents, and just letting them know about like my finances and like what I needed to focus on during that academic semester. So just keeping them in the loop. Yeah, that's all.
Hi, it's Beatrice again. So for this question, I was the first generation as well, and I didn't grow up with my parents. Both of them are in the Philippines. Um, so some of my friends would always ask me like, how did I go to college without my parents beside me? But for me, I didn't use that as a weakness. I cannot use that as a strength, even though sometimes it was just hard for me to look for like where should I get this money and stuff. But I would make sure that I would apply for scholarship, so I don't have to like tell my parents that, oh, I'm struggling for this, like I don't know what to do. And even though I would always make them understand that, even though I don't have the money, like I don't have the time to talk to them because I was busy with school and work, I would always make sure that I was doing everything for them. And like one time my parents was like asking me for money, but I couldn't really give it to them because I have to like pay for my rent and car and most of my bills. I would just tell them like that when I finish college, like that's the time where I can build them a house. Like I can take them here in the US. So that's like all that I want to say. Like communication with my parents. Like even though I don't really like get to see them, like it's been 10 years. Like I'm supposed to go home this summer. But I just make them understand like there's one time, like one day, like we'll see each other again, and that day, like probably I'm already graduate. So yeah.
Thank you all for sharing. So definitely it sounds like communication. Communication is number one, it's key. Having those open lines of communication, that dialogue with your family. I know we've said it quite a few times during this process that college can be that family experience, because while you're the one taking the classes, doing the work, you know, they're watching right along with you. They're seeing this transition that you're going through, and they're transitioning themselves with, you know, your relationship. Some of you mentioned that increased independence and that difference in seeing you as more of like an adult now, and which is something that, you know, you definitely want to have that open dialogue with them, be able to talk through ways that, you know, you can that you need that support from them to be able to continue and just continue to grow with that journey in throughout college. Moving on to our next question. Question 4 is, what has been your experience as a student of your particular identities at SJSU? Whoever would like to answer.
I can start with that one. So I am a transfer student, like I said, so I came in a little bit later. And I also, San Jose State wasn't the first school I attended. And so I did feel like, oh, I'm a little bit older than, I guess what you would say what's presented as the typical age demographic, usually 18 to 22. I'm currently, I just finished school, I'm 26. And so I definitely felt like everyone was going to be able to know that I was older, and I felt really insecure about that. And I know that sometimes as a newer student, you feel like, wow, everyone's going to know that I'm young, I'm a freshman. But there's definitely those insecurities when you're a little bit older as well, like, oh, I'm an older student. So I guess just feeling confident in myself and feeling like I had community like really helped me. And I definitely had a lot of folks that encouraged me, whether it was professors or, you know, just other faculty I looked up to that, you know, basically was like, no one knows your age isn't tattooed on your forehead. You know, no one's going to be like, oh, you're older. Also, I am biracial. I'm Black and I'm white. San Jose State does have the Black African American Student Success Center. I've met a lot of great people, including the director, Jamal, who's currently not there, but he'll return in the fall. And that's really helped me find programming that's like culturally relevant. I know that a lot of time higher education can be intimidating for folks who, you know, might be considered not always represented in those spaces. And so I think that San Jose State does a great job of making sure that everyone does have a space where they can go and they can, you know, talk about the struggles that come with maybe being, you know, being a Black student, and like, what does that mean, and maybe not feeling like you're represented, and having that support system to tackle some of those difficult issues. And so I've been really grateful to have those resources on our campus.
I could go next. So for me, I feel like my biggest change was like, since I lived so close to campus, I feel like I just didn't fit in at first, because everyone I would meet, they would like live in dorms or something. So they were like all involved in programs, and I wasn't. Like, everyone would have friends outside of like classes, and I wouldn't. And I just would make a few friends in class, but then they would just be friends for class, like study buddies, and that would be it. And I used to like hang out with all my high school friends, and I feel like that was great, like, but I just never made new friends like my first year. And I feel like that was something that I did want to change. And later on, when I started making new friends, like outside of my high school or like outside of my classes, I kind of felt more like involved in the school, and it kind of made my experience better and made me fit in more with everyone else, and just didn't make me feel like, oh, I'm just like an outsider sort of. Since I like come to class and like come home, I kind of was more involved with everyone, and I met more people throughout that too.
I guess I can go. As a student who identifies as LGBTQ plus, I found that it was pretty challenging just to like navigate campus, and like just the way I dress. Like sometimes people judge me by like just based on looks, which is kind of stupid, but it happens. So like just finding my community on campus was pretty helpful. I got involved with the SJSU Pride Center and the Gender Equity Center, and I know the director, and it was just really helpful to have like a person on campus you could go to talk to if you were having like an issue in class or with other people, or you're just like worried about something. And it's really nice to know that there are people there. And in that space, we talk like really openly about mental health. So I had a big stigma against mental health, like just because like, you know, in Asian communities, we don't really talk about it a lot. And just having that space like taught me a lot about myself and like learning to take care of myself. So like I was just trying to figure out where I fit in and my people, and being involved in, you know, being LGBTQ, it can be like a struggle sometimes, but like just finding your people and your community can help you build on your strengths.
Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, definitely. I will say, kind of going off of all of your topics, that there's a lot of different space for community on our campus. That there are multiple different centers through our cross-cultural center, through, you know, Pride, Gender Equity, through our cultural centers. I think I mentioned that already, and our multiple clubs. So different ways to get involved, be able to build your peer support network, and, you know, just be able to, as well as expand on seeing who you are, developing who you are as a person as well, learning new interests, taking, having that time to explore maybe interests that you had but hadn't had the opportunity or the resources to be able to do so earlier. So definitely a lot of growth is one of the things that comes with going to college, that comes with being able to, you know, be in this environment. So the other thing that comes with that is sometimes there's a couple challenges. So if our peer mentors would like to share on what is some challenges that you have faced in college, starting with Kai.
So thinking about a challenge for me, it'd have to be probably like, so my freshman year, I rushed to be in a fraternity for, yeah, my first semester in fall. and I ended up not getting a bid from them. So that kind of like not shot me down, but I was discouraged on like joining other orgs. But after like talking with some like of my close friends and just like recollecting the whole experience, I definitely wanted to put myself out there again. So I was lucky enough was to like I rushed again the following semester, and yeah, that semester I ended up meeting a lot of great people within a new org that I didn't expect to meet. Um, but yeah, that was kind of like a challenge because in the beginning of the semester it kind of did affect my self-esteem, but I was able to not get over it, but learn from it. Yeah.
For me, I went into college with like the mentality that like, oh, I'm a freshman, I'm small, like, oh, like people won't look up to me as highly as like an upperclassman. And that was really difficult because like it got in the way of like some of my relationships because I was like, oh, I'm a freshman, I don't really care, I don't need to worry about that. And I think that also like made me like not, try as hard to do like certain things, but like definitely you are a freshman, but you are totally valid and accepted, and you can do so many amazing things. You have so much potential, and just know that, because like even though you're a freshman, take advantage of the opportunities on campus. And that's what like I faced as like a big challenge, and I was kind of figured that out through my experiences, through talking with like older peers and whatnot. And I learned more about just like how like we're all like capable of doing things, even though sometimes we don't believe in ourselves. And yeah.
I think the biggest challenge I faced coming into college was probably that I had to be responsible and I had to do things on my own and kind of figure out everything on my own. I think the biggest challenge for me personally in classes was that once you had an assignment, like, oh, okay, so like there's a paper due on June 19th or whatever, and basically no one literally tells you that, okay, you have to work on this part of the essay. You have like a month or like 2-3 weeks to do it, and you have to kind of pace yourself on how you're gonna like get to it, and it's like self motivation to do it. Like other than high school, okay, like in high school you would do like one page or something, and the a teacher would have like check-ins. But in college, no one really has check-ins. If you need help, you have to like go to the professor and get help. The professor's not going to ask you if you need help, you can come to me. Or like using like different resources on campus, you will have to do it by yourself. So that's something that I kind of learned how to do on my own.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more, it takes a lot more of determination, some drive, being very self-disciplined with college sometimes, with your different assignments, with trying to find where to adjust, find those resources. And I think one of the great things that about this program is it's that opportunity to have that hub of like, if you don't know where to go, let's start to build those connections, or at least tell you, introduce you to someone that can introduce you to that resource for you, to help you be able to work towards those goals that you have, to be able to meet that next step. And with that, I want to ask our peer mentors, what was your biggest accomplishment so far in college? Let's start with Tori.
So I'm gonna be the first one to tell you that grades are not everything. Yes, grades are important, and you definitely should try, and you definitely should put forth your effort and what you can give. When I first dropped out of school, I was on academic probation. I hope that none of you ever know what that means, but I will explain it to you. It basically means that your GPA fell below a 2.0. So in school, you have to keep a certain GPA, and that's a 2.0. I think for certain majors, it's higher. But if you fall below that, you get placed on academic probation, which means that you have to, really put forth the effort, go to study hall hours, and bring that GPA up. So yeah, 2 years ago, I was on academic probation. At my time at San Jose State, I was able to really put forth that effort, really, study. I spent a lot of time in the library, and I graduated with honors for my department. And that felt really good, to really be recognized and see how much I've grown, and to kind of tell other students my story and be like, hey, like, you can be on both sides of the, spectrum. You can be that student who has those mistakes and messes up. Don't beat yourself up about that, but then you get up and you finish strong. And I'm really happy that I was able to do that.
And for me, being in college is already one of my accomplishments, but maintaining a 3.6 is like one of my biggest accomplishment that I'm always proud of, and that I always told my parents. Yeah.
One of my biggest accomplishments that I'm proud of so far was definitely being able to work on a research project this upcoming year. I got a research grant to be able to engage in research in the field of education, which I'm really passionate about. And at first I didn't believe in myself, and I was scared of applying for the opportunity, but then my professor pushed me and challenged me, hey, you can totally do it. I'll support you throughout this. And we actually got the grant, so I'm really surprised and shocked at the same time. But you can do anything. You set your mind to it if you believe in yourself.
Very key what you just said there, Vincent, believing in yourself, being able to say, kind of go into what Tori said, it's like, yeah, maybe things are not where you want them to be, but not beating yourself up, believing yourself and being able to reach that goal, seeking out those resources, and continuing to push on and strive on and succeed and excel in those goals that you have for yourself. Now, one of those upcoming things that you will definitely need to push on for to succeed in is our upcoming classes for fall. So as all of you did take classes this spring that were fall, or that were online rather, what are some tips that you have, starting off with Kai?
So starting off with the tips I have for online learning, again, I think number one is for sure being organized and keeping everything, like your schedule or wherever you navigate your schedule, in one place. But again, whatever works out for you on how you keep yourself organized throughout the semester. So just having a place where you could visually see what you're going to be working on, or deadlines that you need to be meeting. So that's one of my biggest tip. Another one is to be engaged as much as possible, even though that we are online. I really recommend y'all to ask all the questions you have for your professors. They're gonna be looking for that engagement because they're used to having in-person classes. So just really make the effort and show them that you're there for a reason. And yeah, make the time valuable for you and your professor. Those are kind of the biggest two tips I have.
So after what just Kai said, I really agree with him. I feel like staying organized is really helpful and really important. And I would say in online classes, it's really easy to procrastinate and kind of wait till the end or last minute, since no one's really, you're not going in person classes and the teacher really wouldn't talk about it in front of you. So I would really recommend to have a schedule or planner and plan everything out, write down all your deadlines, and write down when you're gonna start doing them as well, because I feel like sometimes we just have stuff in our planner but we're just okay, we'll get to it later at a later time. And I feel like that kind of leads to procrastination in my case a lot of the time. So I really recommend just to start things early, a week before things are due or a week before the deadlines. And I would also recommend to still engage with your professor, go to make a Zoom meeting, because a lot of professors still offer office hours through Zoom. And I feel like you shouldn't, just because classes are going to be online, it's still important to connect with your professor and still have the personal connection so they get to know you And I feel like that really helps your grade. If you're like at a borderline, they really do see if you do put in the extra work, they will notice that. So I feel like that's really important since we're not going to be able to see each other in person.
Yeah, that is super important. Something that I would recommend for online classes, what I did, really try to create a space in your living space that's designated at least part-time for working on school. And what I mean by that, I know that most of us might even be sitting in our beds right now, but you associate your bed, at least I do, with sleeping and with relaxing and Netflix and Hulu. I don't associate it with doing, writing a 10-page paper or doing my homework. So when I get in bed, my body wants to relax and then my mind wants to follow that. And so I've learned to really take myself out of my bedroom, and I'll do stuff maybe at the dining room table. I do have a coffee table in my living room that I'll work on, and also trying to give yourself designated times. The cool thing about being at home is that you do have a little bit more flexibility with your schedule. But when you have that, that's where that responsibility and accountability comes in. You want to make sure that you are designating some time for school. Maybe now you don't have to be in school from 7:30 to 2:30, but maybe you can designate, okay, from 10 to 1, I'm going to designate this time to just working on schoolwork. And, having those conversations with your living spaces, whether that be with roommates or family members, to say, okay, during this time, I'm really just focusing. And, you can make it fun for everyone. You can have people, my friends love to take my cell phone from me and keep it until I'm done or until I finish my work. And so, make it a fun experience, but definitely setting up your study space in your home is going to be really crucial as we move forward with our next semester.
Yeah, a lot of great advice. Definitely being organized, having that designated space. I love what you said about accountability as well, because at the end of the day, this is your education. It's your responsibility to make sure that you're completing the assignments. That if you have questions, like Jasmine said, making that appointment with the professor via Zoom, that way you get those questions answered, and building those relationships early on too, because while they're your professors now and maybe just answering a question about how clarifying the essay topic or the project topic, you build those relationships, because later on, if you're applying to graduate school to get a master's, or you're applying for your first job, you do need letters of recommendation. And a lot of times having that from a professor really helps along the way, because they see your level of work, they get to know you and can really write a great letter for you and be that support for you. This brings us to our last question here of question 8 for all of our student staff. If you can describe any other advice that you would like to share.
I could go. One advice that I want y'all to walk away with today is definitely get comfortable with the uncomfortable. I know college is about like exploring and finding out about yourself. So I really encourage y'all to try new things and be open to like having an open mindset the entire time that you're in college, because you're going to be coming across many new things. So just keep in mind that you need to trust the process. I'll put it.
My biggest advice would be to make friends with your professor, all your professors, or the professors that like you really enjoy their classes, and individuals. Really, it's about networking. Like Amanda mentioned, letters of recommendation. Vincent talked about his research assistantship. Those opportunities like definitely come from putting yourself out there and letting people know what you're passionate about. And at first it could feel like kind of weird, like, oh, I don't want to share. The more people know that, like, for example, I'm really passionate about like education and equality, like folks will come to you, hey, I heard about this research opportunity, or heard about this cool workshop. And they just like, opportunities just get sent to you from all different types of directions. And you definitely want to take advantage of that, because how amazing is it to be at a university and to have this huge group of people who are all going for different goals, and you really just get to sit there and connect with all these different individuals from all these different programs. So network, network, network.
I would say that for me, the biggest advice or like that I would give is like to find a balance between your academics and your social life, because if you have too much of a social life, your academics will fall, and if you just focus on academics, just academics, you wouldn't really feel as involved in campus, or you wouldn't feel like you're actually going to college, which was in my case. And I would recommend that being involved in as many, not as many, but like just a few clubs and organizations that you're really passionate about, and focus on not just like your academics, but also like other things, like just like Tori just mentioned, like other opportunities are also available to you, like internships or job opportunities. Just also focus on the like kind of find a balance between everything, which is going to be hard, but just trying to find a little balance between everything would kind of help you stay motivated to want to achieve more.
My biggest piece of advice is definitely take advantage of those campus resources. Now that you know a lot about them, utilize them, because there's so many different like opportunities on campus. We have the career center, we have different cultural centers, and we have like tutoring. So definitely take advantage of the resources, and you can also attend their online events, because I know sometimes like there's a lot of webinars now. So if you have like the time, you can like log in and you can check out what they're about.
And for me, make your classes your priority. Like you got to be thinking about all these kind of opportunities that will emerge. This said, never forget that college is first and foremost about academics. And also apply for a scholarship. Like not all 33K students at SGSU apply for scholarship. So you'll definitely get like at least one or like two scholarships.
It's definitely a great point there, Beatrice. Scholarships. You definitely want to check out our financial aids website, because scholarships will be available at different points throughout the school year, whether that is straight from the university or maybe even specifically for your major, or there's multiple different opportunities there, both within the university and external as well. There's scholarships for people who are left-handed. I kid you not, they exist. So taking that time to do your research there and do your research on ways to get involved. I think that was a great thing, talking about networking, building those connections. I will say that building those connections and sharing your passions definitely help. Case in point, that's how I actually got the job that I'm in right now, being able to speak to you all, which I absolutely love and would not have been able to do if I hadn't got involved. And to Kai and everyone's point, really, just staying organized, managing those priorities as well, making sure you have your academics taken care of, that you have the time to be able to get involved, and that you find that balance for yourself. That's going to be incredibly important moving forward. As we are at the end of our time here, do you want to just skip a couple things or just head straight to our reminders here, in that if you did miss any of our sessions or you want to go back and revisit, definitely check out that Google Classroom. The link was emailed to you once again, and the code is listed here, YBIXYWS. Tomorrow is the last day, can't believe it, the last day of our Eastside Union High School District Spartan summer program already. And even though that is the last day, it's not going to be the last opportunity for you to stay connected, to get involved, and be able to engage with multiple other campus resources. So that being said, definitely join us for tomorrow's session to hear more about upcoming support programs for the summer, the academic year. Tomorrow, we will also hear from our academic preparations office. So they're going to talk all about if you've been receiving messages about English and math readiness, or taking a support class, or different ways that you can improve your English and math skills. You will want to make sure that you come to tomorrow's session. So that being said, once again, one moment, sorry, sitting near a house phone here. Once again, do make sure that you take that time to go into the Google Classroom, work on those assignments, those evaluations. The more evaluations you do, the more assignments you complete, you enter or increase your chances to win at our raffle. But again, tomorrow is our last day together, so let's have a good time together. All right, if there are any questions, please utilize the chat feature before we do go. We'll be on for just a couple more minutes, and take care, everybody.